Good morning. Hope everybody has a great day today. We're here with Judy Moody and Megan McDonald with Judy Predicts the Future, book number 4. Today we are reading chapter 10, which is called Nonfiction Prediction. It's kind of a long chapter today. Judy was first to arrive in room 3T on Monday morning. Judy, would you pass out crayons to everybody? Asked Mr. Todd. For what? Today we're doing all of our writing with crayons. For what? Asked Judy. For fun. Magic markers are better, said Judy. Mr. Todd frowned. I'm just saying. But don't you just love the smell of crayons? Asked Mr. Todd. Judy hurried up and passed out all the not magic marker crayons. Then she asked Mr. Canyon Smeller if she could conduct a scientific experiment on his desk. Sorry, it's Mr. Crayon Smeller if she can conduct a scientific experiment on his desk. She set a bowl of water with 26 paper letters next to his pencil jar. She could hardly wait to see which letters turned right side up. Soon, she, Madame M., would know the name of Mr. Todd's secret love. She would no longer be Madame M. for mistake. No more phony baloney. During science class, Judy watched the letters float upside down in a bowl of water. Mr. Todd was talking away about cumulus clouds. Judy drew puffy clouds with her blizzard blue crayon. She drew skitty clouds. She drew clouds shaped like hearts and crayons. As soon as science was over, Judy rushed up to Mr. Todd's desk. Lots of upside-down paper squares had turned over, but all the magic marker letters had gotten runny and blurry in water. She could not read a single letter. Did your experiment work? Asked Mr. Todd. No, said Judy. It came out a big fat 0. Try again, said Mr. Todd. True science takes time. Yes, thought Judy, but this time she used an apple seed. Later that day, Judy ate an apple at lunch. At recess, she found Mr. Todd on the playground talking with Rocky and Frank. Mr. Todd. Oh, there's a picture of Judy in her bowl. Mr. Todd, Judy asked, will you help me with another experiment? Anything for science, said Mr. Todd. Put this apple seed on your forehead, then say the alphabet. Funny, said Frank. Are you going to? Asked Rocky. Somehow this doesn't exactly sound scientific, said Mr. Todd. He stuck the apple seed to his forehead. He started singing the alphabet song. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All the kids laughed. Is this a joke? Asked Mr. Todd. Don't stop, crying Judy. You'll wreck the experiment. Mr. Todd sang all the way to letter T before the apple seed fell off. The letter T, thought Judy. Same as Todd. How'd I do? Asked Mr. Todd. We'll see, said Judy. True science takes time. Glad I could help. Now we'd better head back inside. Don't forget, today's the big day. Our special guest author is coming to visit 3T. You mean the crayon lady? Asked Frank. Today? How could you forget? Asked Judy. Mr. Todd had crayons on his brain for a whole week. Who cared about crayons anyways? Crayons were for kindergartners. She had grown-up things to think about, important things like L-O-V-E, love. Later that day, Class 3T washed the blackboard and picked up scraps of paper under their chairs. They fed the fish and emptied the trash and erased pencil marks on their desk. Mr. Todd wanted the room to look extra special, extra sparkling. We've never had to clean this much for anybody, said Frank. Tell me about it, said Judy. Who's going to look in the trash anyways? Her, said Frank, pointing to a woman tapping on the door. As soon as she came in, Class 3T put their best third grade listening ears on. Class 3T, said Mr. Todd, I would like you to meet a special friend of mine, Miss Tater. As you know, she's an author and an artist, and she's here today, all the way from New York, to tell us about a book she wrote called Crayons Aren't for Eating. Miss Tater, I wonder if that's the tea. Ooh, with the apple seed, let's find out. Everybody clapped. The crayon lady looked like a crayon. She wore a lemon yellow top and a skirt like a painting. She had a short, curly boy hair and a fancy scarf around her head. She even had a crayon. She even had on, she even had on crayon earrings. Oh, best of all, she had a melted orange crayon box on her boots. Miss Tater showed 3T her book about how crayons were made. She told the class it was a non-fiction. Non-fiction meant the opposite of fiction. It meant true. Miss Tater was non-old, young. She was non-ugly, pretty. She was non-boring, interesting. She told the class how the first crayon was made 100 years ago. She told about the secret formula of crayons made of wax, color, and powder. Then the author lit a candle and mixed the candle wax drips with red powder to show how they make crayons. It's like mixing flour in a cake mix, said Miss Tater. Miss Tater told them how one time she met some famous guy named Captain Kangaroo at a crayon museum in New York. No lie. She even told about the crayon eater machine. It was a big machine that checked for broken and lumpy crayons and threw the bad ones out. Once Miss Tater got to name her own crayon. What was it called? Everybody asked. Pumpkin Moon, she said, and she held up an orange crayon that matched her boots. Mr. Todd helped me think of it. Her smile was nightlight bright. Some new names of crayons are Atomic Tangerine, Banana Mania, and Eggplant. Eggplant was a color. Stink was right. Is zucchini a crayon? Asked Judy. No, but that's a good idea, said Miss Tater. And then there's my favorite, Purple Mountain Majesty. Rare, said Judy. Purple Mountain Majesty was as good as joyful, on top of the world purple. Mr. Todd's favorite is vermilion. That's red, said Mr. Todd. Red? Judy sat straight up as a president and perked up her best third grade listening ears. We can't forget about macaroni and cheese. Miss Tater held up a cheesy-looking crayon. This one looks good enough to eat, but we'll leave that to the crayon eater machine. Everybody in 3T cracked up. Now it's your turn, Miss Tater said. Who could think of a good name for a crayon? Any ideas? Baseball Mitt Brown, said Frank. Piggy Pink, said Jessica Finch. Mud, said Brad. Moody Blue, said Judy. When they were finished, Miss Tater let them ask questions. How long does it take to make a crayon? Asked Jessica Finch. About 15 minutes. How long does it take to write a book? Asked Rocky. A lot longer than that. It took me about a year. Who invented crayons anyways? George Washington? Asked Frank. Well, said Miss Tater, Two guys named Binney and Smith made the first crayon. It was black. Mr. Binney's wife, Alice, was a teacher. Like Mr. Todd, she invented the name Crayola. Any more questions? Asked Mr. Todd. Judy waved her hand in the air. I have a comment, not a question. Yes, said Miss Tater. You were so not boring. Thank you, Miss Tater said. What a great compliment. Everybody clapped for the crayon lady when the program was over. Okay, 3T, said Mr. Todd. Miss Tater brought free crayons for all of us. Line up. And I'll pass them out. Then you can go back to your seats and draw. Judy got in line for her crayon. That's when she saw it, the candle. All the wax from the candle that Miss Tater lit had dripped to one side, the left side. But wait, if Mr. Todd was in love, the candle would have dripped to the right side. The left side meant the woman was in love. Judy looked harder at the crayon. Mr. Todd handed her a vermilion red crayon. Miss Tater smiled back at him and had just turned into a handsome prince or something. Boing. Of course, that was it. Miss Tater was in love. Candle drips proved it. Judy saw it with her own eyes, and Miss Tater started with tea, just like the apple seed said. At last, she, Judy Moody, had made a non-fiction prediction. Mr. Todd was in love with the crayon lady. The crayon lady was in love with Mr. Todd. There were a vermilion and one reasons. And I think that's the end of the chapter. Yes, it is. That is the end of chapter nonfiction prediction. And tomorrow we'll be reading chapter 11, Purple Mountain Majesty. So I wonder if we're going to find out. I think that Purple Mountain Majesty is the last chapter in our book. So we'll have to find out how it works out with Mr. Todd and Mr. Tater and Miss Tater. That's 2 T's. We'll see. Have a great day.